Good morning, it's June 14th. I'm starting from a really different place. I'm in the parking lot of Save On Foods on South Albert. My car is at OK Tire right across the street. And while they're working on it, it's just servicing, I'm going to take a walk and walk along in the neighborhood south of Gordon Road down here. So we start in a parking lot, which is not all that exciting. But I will quickly leave that behind. Now, there was somebody from Germany who asked me a little while ago to walk somewhere where there were apartment buildings. Well, here's some apartment buildings. There's quite a few down here on South Albert. Well, technically they're on Ray Street, which is the next street over. It's a beautiful spring morning again. Late spring, almost summer, not quite. We'll quickly get out of the parking lot area here. Find something a bit greener. Is there a sidewalk through the grass here? And I don't want to walk in the grass, across the grass, so I'll stay in the parking lot for the moment. I don't suppose anybody will care if I walk across the grass. I'll walk across the grass. After all, they have steps just leading into the grass here. There, now we're on the front side of the apartment buildings. These are much nicer, I would say, than the ones I walked by a little bit north of here yesterday. More on the other side there. Lots of businesses on South Albert. I mean, it's commercial all the way from 25th, where I started a couple of days ago, all the way down here. I see some sort of work getting planned here. Trucks sitting there. And actually this little, not the strip mall immediately to my left, but the next one coming up is the pet store where we buy kitty litter. So there's an exciting thing to know. Over there, positively perfect. For Shadow Paw. Shadow Paw is our black Siberian cat with a publishing history. Well, use the crosswalk here. We should be able to cross here instead of going all the way down to the corner. Yeah, I'll go to the corner. Safer. So over there is positively perfect, and that used to be an animal hospital, but that one has actually gone to new digs out in Harbor Landing. Somewhere else I'll walk one of these days. There's a Boston Pizza around the corner where I've often been for post-show things. When my daughter was in Do It With class, they would sometimes go there after a show. Apartment buildings. Dead ahead of us is the Southland Mall, one of our shopping centers. Looks like I'm going this way first. Then I'll cross over to the other side of Gordon, I mean, because that's where I want to walk today. I did walk all the way down to Gordon, further down the street there, much further down, a couple of days ago. So if you're there on YouTube or Facebook, please say hello. I love doing this with everybody wondering why I'm walking around with this thing talking to myself. sidewalk. Again, apartment buildings. I should find that comment and let her know that I walked in an area with more apartment buildings. Don't know why she wanted to know from Germany unless they're planning to move here. So far nobody has said hi this morning, but if you're there, please do. This is not the most interesting side to walk on, I admit. When I come back, maybe I'll be on the other side of Gordon, I don't know. I'll give them an hour to do the car. It's just an oil change, so I should do it. Anyway, this is Gordon Road, which is a major east-west road on this corner of town. If you go straight ahead, you get to one of the newest developments called Harbor Landing, which is just south of the airport. Somewhere else I should walk sometime. Much newer development than anything I've walked in so far. So I used to know somebody that lived in those apartments, or condos, I don't know which they are. In fact, Alice got babysat in there by someone, if I remember right, when she was much littler than she is now, considering she turned 20 yesterday. I don't have to worry about babysitting so much anymore. Yeah, I'm still, I see. The pill mic was disconnected there, wasn't it? Well, as I know from previous experience, because I checked it, that just means you're probably getting the sound off of the iPhone mic, which of course is what I used for a long time to begin with. But it sounds much better now, I would think. But since apparently nobody is with me yet, maybe that doesn't matter too much. Liquor store. Sobeys Liquor Store. We're getting one very close to our house, which will be nice. We've never had one close for, your emergency liquor needs. Or that apartment building across the street. We'll turn south up here at the next corner and get away from Gordon Road. And what do I have to do today? Back to the Tangled Stars. I will finish it this week, first draft. Getting more, still have a few stories to come for Shapers of Worlds Volume 2. There's a big apartment building. Been there for a long time. Always quite striking, that one, because it's white, so it lights up. As you can tell by the trees in front of it that it's not a new development. Rainbow Towers, they apparently call it, says the blowing over sign. We will walk down in front of it now. There you go, Rainbow Towers. My wife's off getting her second vaccination, or will be shortly. Our appointment's at 8:50, so about half an hour from now. I had mine on Thursday. My arm is still a little sore, I'm noticing this morning, which kind of surprises me. But no actual noticeable side effects. And I mixed AstraZeneca for the first shot and Pfizer for the second. Anyway, fully vaccinated. We can get a high enough percentage of people with their first shots in Saskatchewan. They'll finally take off the mask mandates and all that stuff maybe this summer, which would be grand. Cedar Village Estates. More apartments. Yeah, I'll definitely have to find the German viewer and comment and let her know that I walked through a residential and apartment area here. Much more apartments than sort of down around our neighborhood, which is very old and single family dwellings. Southland Mall still to my left. There's a library, a branch of the Regina Public Library in there too that I've been in many times. And there's movie theaters. Kind of the older ones now. We've got a couple of new ones with, you know, more raked seats, raked auditorium, things like that. Okay, start zigging to the right on Lincoln Drive. There's still some lilacs in bloom along here. Some nice ones. Normally on a Monday I'd walk along the creek, but because I ended up down here with the car, I thought I'd do this today. Tomorrow I'll probably just do my regular walk along the creek. And after that, I don't know what I'll do the rest of the week. There'll be some repetition, I'm sure. Arlington. All right. I have a friend who lives in Arlington, Texas. I don't imagine this was named after Arlington, Texas, though, or the same Arlington. I'm about to get run over by somebody coming out of their driveway there. Never fails. So, is there anybody out there? Say hello. Otherwise, you're watching this on the replay. Well, that's fine too. I call it a replay. Recording, I guess, is a better word. Replay makes it sound like some sort of sports thing. This is a place. So I suspect if I walk down here, I just do a loop down at the end and come back. So I'll keep going this way. Yeah, that just takes a loop around this nice... Where does it? I think so. I think it's just a loop. Oh, there's people showing up. There's Callie. Hi. Miriam. Yes, I have taken the vaccine. Both of them. So a Thursday, so a few more days, and I'll have, full power of the vaccine. Well, one's from Facebook and one's from YouTube that just checked in, so at least I know it's on both of them. I think there's a park down here that I've never been to. So maybe I should walk all the way down there. So this is really South Regina. I can hear in the distance the ring road. This is also a place. So again, this would just be a loop that goes up around this island in the middle. And comes back this way. So I won't walk down there. Get to the park. I didn't even know there was a park down here. Regina does have a lot of green space. It looks like it just has grass though. I don't want to walk in the grass too much. Could be wet. Probably not, but it could be. What's it called? There's a sign. Arlington Park. Well, that makes sense. This is Arlington we're on. Broome Avenue. Oh, Arlington Park. Just grass and trees. What more do you want in a park? No pathways or anything like that I can see through the park. Just grass and trees and grass. Garbage bins out. It must be garbage day here too, as it is in our neighborhood. We get it picked up in the lane behind the house, so we don't have to put our bins out front of the house like this, which is nice. Now what do we got? Lockwood Road. Alrighty. Still heading south. Eventually we'll reach the edge of town in this direction, not too far. The Ring Road, I can hear the traffic noise. I don't know if you can or not. It's probably just the other side of this row of houses at the end of the street. There might be another block, I'm not sure. That's also a piece of the Trans-Canada Highway, although there's now a bypass, so you can go all the way around the city. Which is much further south. Yeah, this must be the last row of houses up here, because that traffic noise is getting quite close. So the Ring Road takes you around the city with a 100-kilometer-hour speed limit. And somewhere further out is the bypass, which is probably 110, the same speed limit as the Trans-Canada. Until that was built, all the Trans-Canada traffic, which of course is a lot of heavy trucks and stuff, would come in on Victoria, west end of Victoria, if they're coming from that direction. East end, sorry. And they'd have to go through several blocks of City Street. I mean, it's a lot of lanes, but it was still, slower speed limit and stop lights and stuff before they got into the Ring Road, which would then take them around this end of town and carry them on the Moose Jaw. And now the bypass has been built. Oh, this is a dead end too. I thought I was going to go to the right here. Okay, I guess we're going to the left. That's a big house right there. A lot of buildings going down that side, which is odd. Well, all back going the opposite of the way I intended going. It's probably about 18 right now, something like that. It's going to be warm again this week. So it's a nice quiet neighborhood, except for the sound of the Ring Road, just beyond these houses here. It's actually a lot of traffic noise. Well, this will just take me back up to Arlington Park probably. And I'll check the time and see if I want to keep working my way east, or what I want to do. West, I mean. I always get those mixed up. How long have you been going so far? Already 20 minutes. Still some water. Don't know if it's from people watering their yard or from the heavy rain on Friday. I suspect it's still from the rain on Friday. You can see a video of me walking in that rain on my YouTube channel. It's been a very popular video. It's got about 4 or 5 times as many views as my ordinary walks. It's a lot of flooding, a lot of intersections were flooded. We have some friends whose basement flooded and several houses on their street flooded from a sewer backup. So tens of thousands of dollars of damage, because those are mostly finished basements, so they have furniture and carpet and all sorts of things in them. Our basement is not finished. A really high flood in our basement would certainly damage a lot of keepsakes and stuff. But, oh, another note, from Roger. Hi, Roger. Yes, well, thank you for telling me there's intermittent glitching, but you do realize there's nothing I can do about it, so. Hi, Kirk from Vancouver. Well, I don't want to keep going this way, so I will go this way again. Need to get probably up to Groom Road, and then I can continue going a little further west. Before I start to head back to where my car is at OK Tire on South Albert, being serviced. Well, that's definitely from sprinkling, because there's the sprinkler. Sprinkling my ankles as I walk by. And a little higher than that. Refreshing. On my bare legs. Also had a comment from somebody who said they liked my voice. I never thought of working for the CBC. And of course, I was on CBC radio for 20 years. But not as a CBC employee. I was a freelancer. Had a science column where I talked about science every week for 17 years. When Colin Brewer was host of the afternoon edition. And then did a few shorter-lived segments for a while. Then they kind of cut back and weren't using as many freelancers and quit using me at some point. I would happily still be doing that science column if CBC had wanted to continue it. But they felt 17 years was long enough. I disagreed, but it wasn't up to me. There's still lots of people around Saskatchewan that remember me from being the science guy on the afternoon edition, even though it's been several years now since that ended. Or the other stuff too. Let's see. If it was 17 years, it must have ended about 2007, 2008. No, wait. Well, yeah. Yeah, somewhere in there. Somewhere around 1990, 91, I would have started it when I was still at the Science Center, because it started as a promotional thing for the Saskatchewan Science Center. And then when I became a full-time freelance writer slash performer in 1993, I kept doing it. It might have started about 91, so that would have been 2008 or thereabouts that it ended, and then another couple of years of doing other things for CBC before they quit using me at all. I guess it's been more than 10 years. And I also had a newspaper version, wildly underpaid for that. Leader Post would pay me $25 for that column. But I did it because I was doing the radio thing too. It was in other newspapers at the Times. It was in Red Deer, and it was in St. John's, Newfoundland, I think, for a while. But that wasn't worthwhile at that rate of pay, the amount of money it was bringing in. And for a while, I just did it for my newsletter subscribers. But I was able to check and see that, it was only getting opened a dozen times, maybe. Well, that's not worth my time, so I quit doing it some years ago now. All right, well, if we go down Rogers Road, do I get stuck again? It can't go back the other way. So if it turns, it must turn right at the end of this street. And it'll take us on to the west, which is the direction I want to go. Oh, well, there's another road here first, if it is a road and not just a place. Hardly ever been down in this area except to look at Christmas lights. Don't know of anybody that lives down here, further on to the west. If we get that far, which I don't know if I will or not, because I want to be heading home soon. Yeah, this will curve me back around to the right again. Well, let's go on down here and see if I get a longer right hand leg. I don't know what that was about. Somebody didn't like something somebody did, if you heard that horn. There's a big house behind that fence. This one. Okay, where will this take me? I think that's a place. It'll just be a cul-de-sac. Maybe. Only one way to find out. Is that a road? Yeah, that's a cul-de-sac. I don't want to be cul-de-saced, so go back this way. That sounded like more of a double entendre than I intended. Because I didn't intend it that way at all. Okay, well, it should turn again down here to the right. I know if I get as far as Queen Street, I can get a view out at the south edge of town over the prairie to the ring road anyway. But I don't really know where I am or where I'm going, so no guarantees. Except again, this would be the last line of houses, I think, here on the southern edge of town, based on the sound. Should have gone over 30 minutes now, so I should be thinking about heading back, although it'll be a bit more direct since I won't make the same zigzags. I think that's Queen up there at the end. So a bit more open here, somewhat newer neighborhood, so the trees aren't quite as big. More open yards, lawns. My wife should be at the Everest place now, standing in line to get her second shot. And then Alice, our daughter, everybody gets eligible pretty soon, so I think she's eligible maybe in another couple of weeks. And then we'll all be fully vaccinated, which is good because she'll be back in Toronto probably this fall for university. She's will be going into her third year of kinesiology at the University of Toronto. The whole second year was spent here at home, which has been nice to have her, but not what her university experience should be. Oh no, this is McTavish. Well, this is as far west as I'll go, I think. Let's see what we've got to the left. Do I get the end of town down here? Yes, I do. This is what I've been aiming for. The edge of night. The edge of Regina. So that's the ring road there. What is the ring road there? There's still some businesses on the other side, but essentially this is the edge of town. You can see the highway sign to Moose Jaw. Oh, I can walk back along the dirt path here, although I don't know when I get a chance to go back into the city. So there you go, the edge of Regina. As you can see, there are no trees really in Saskatchewan. It's all an illusion. That would be the overpass that leads to the Louvain down there. And there's storage space over there and the other things, but there, that was actually the main goal of this walk. Now, I could walk along this dirt path if it's not too muddy. But I don't know where it would take me. And it's not really where I want to go, so we'll head back the way we came, more or less. Morning. We'll go up McTavish now, and then we'll start wending our way back to the east, where the car is, on South Albert. So I like doing that, going to the edge of town and showing you just how artificial Regina is. All these trees, all this green, all this stuff. It ain't natural for this part of the world. Oh, New Albert Park. Didn't know there was a park there either. Cross over, get a better look at it. Where does that path go? Well, I can't resist a park. We'll walk through the park and then start wending our way back. Yeah, the path just kind of takes us back, so it's just a little loop here through the park. That's the play structure. Again, Alice has turned 20. We don't have to worry about play structures anymore like we once did whenever we went anywhere and she saw one and she wanted to play. Little footbridge here. There's probably a lot of water in this on Friday, but at the moment it's back to being a trickle. Oh, do they have a... It's like a little culvert. I thought it might be a waterfall, but it's just a culvert. It goes around that way. That actually, my first thought is miniature golf hazard, but that's not what it is. Okay, now we're definitely heading back. I'm sure by the time I get back to the car, it'll be ready. Since it's just an oil change. I'll be down here again with one of our other cars. Which sounds like, you know, wow, but well, the one being fixed right now is 20 years old. We have a SUV, which is our main car, which is a few years old too. And then the other one that needs to come in belonged to my wife's father. And it's a 1977 Cadillac Eldorado. It is enormous. And your perspective changes when you're driving it. It only has 15,000 original miles on it. But it didn't run at all last year because the battery died. I never got it up and running. So it definitely needs to run this year and be driven a few times. And it's going to need a new battery to do that, I think. Anyway, largest, if I read right, it's the largest passenger car. Yes, that was a nice little park. Ever made, like single family kind of passenger car. It's just enormous, and driving it is odd because everything seems suddenly much smaller than it used to. So I think about the first time I drove it, there was this vehicle came up beside me and I thought, well, that's a cute little SUV. And I realized it was a Hummer, but it looked tiny to me. Driving that enormous Cadillac. There's actually two Cadillacs in the garage, but the other one hasn't run in 20 years and should be sold. The landscape is awesome. If you mean the landscape without the trees or the landscape with the trees. I find the prairie very interesting, but I've always lived on the prairie. I was born in the mountains, Silver City, New Mexico, not far from the Mexican border, actually. But I was only 2 when we left New Mexico, and the rest of my life has been spent on the prairie. First in Texas and then up here. And Texas, there's a saying that there's nothing between you and the North Pole but a few strands of barbed wire, and they're usually down. So northern Texas, it's not actually as cold as Saskatchewan, but I can remember a winter, well, I thought there was a lot of snow because it was up to my knees. Of course, I was 7, so my knees were closer to the ground than they are now. And we had, below zero temperatures for a few days, so at least nights. So it can get very cold there, not like it does in Saskatchewan. But then we drove up here in 1967 when we moved up here. And it's prairie all the way. The only change was we stopped in the Black Hills to see Mount Rushmore on the way up. So the Rockies are about 9 hours to our west, depending on how fast you drive, I guess. It's about 7.5 hours to Calgary, or 8 hours, and another hour gets you into the mountains. And all the way from here to there is prairie, and southwestern Saskatchewan is a bit rolling, and you have the Cypress Hills down there, which are actually the highest points between the Rockies and the Laurentians, I guess. But you don't really go through them unless you make a point of going through them. But there's a bit of rolling land in southwest Saskatchewan. But then when you hit southeast Alberta, most boring landscape on the planet. I think it's because it's not cropland, it's ranch land. So it's usually when we go, if you go late in August, it's just brown scrub. You can certainly see a long way. Actually, I don't know if it's the most boring landscape on the planet, or boring is not quite the right word, but monotonous maybe is better. I mean, it's interesting. It just goes on and on and on. But driving across Nevada a few years ago, now that was a lot of nothing for a very long ways in the desert. And Wyoming has a lot of nothing for very long distances as well. There's still a lot of wide open spaces in North America. So slowly taking us back to Gordon Road. Won't be too far actually. Then I have to cross over to I'll give them the right of way. Have to cross over Albert, and there's my car then. It's OK Tire. They probably texted me by now, but I have it set so I don't get texts from anybody except contacts, like I just did. Didn't get a chance to read it, but I think she was saying she's gotten her vaccine or is about to. Funny that came up just as I said I wouldn't get any text except from family. And literally that second it popped up. Still got a ways to go before we hit Gordon, so that's good. Because it's quieter along here. straight into the sun, so I'll have a hard time seeing any comments if there are any more. Whew. Oh, I'll run into this Windows truck as opposed to a Macintosh truck, an Apple truck. Now, this is actually where I started. I came in on Leopold down here and turned left on Arlington, going the other way to the south. So now I'll turn north on Arlington. Heaven forbid I should repeat myself. Oh, some more lovely lilacs. Oh, those aren't lilacs. Oh, it's like a rose bush. A little bit of fragrance. I just assumed it would be lilacs, but no, I think those are roses. W.O. Mitchell, famous Saskatchewan, Canadian writer, was from Weyburn, where I grew up, long before me. And he came back to town while I was at the Weyburn Review to promote his latest book, which was called Roses Are Difficult Here. Now, his most famous book is Who Has Seen the Wind, which you might have heard of and which was made into a movie. And there's also a stage play that I was in at Persephone Theatre in Saskatoon. Played the father who, spoiler, dies, and Uncle Sean, who had an Irish accent, so I was doing a bit of that. But anyway, when it came to Weyburn to promote that book, there was a woman named Sadie Bowerman. Sadie Bowerman was the first white baby born in Weyburn. Shows you how young the city was, that she was still going when I was growing up and when I was working there. And she'd become a school teacher and a substitute school teacher. I think she was still substitute teaching even like in her 80s, 70s anyway, while I was there. Never had her when I was a kid, but I know she was still active. So she came, and she had been, I think she'd been Mitchell's actual school teacher when he was a kid in Weyburn. So when he came back and was promoting Roses Are Difficult Here, she got after him for using swear words in his book. I thought it was hilarious. She used to regularly send us letters at the Weyburn Review because we had our TV listings at the time. The style was to lowercase everything, like Tuesday, May, whatever, no capital letters. And periodically she would tell us that we were teaching the youth of Weyburn very bad habits by not properly capitalizing those words. And how could they learn if even the newspaper, which should be a bastion of good grammar and spelling, was doing it wrong? I think we got that letter more than once while I was at the review. Here we are now coming back to the Rainbow Towers. It's called Rainbow Towers, but it's painted white. But I guess all colors of the rainbow can be found in white. very sunny on this side of the street. On the sunny side of the street. I'll want to cross over, I think. So I don't get hit by this guy who's turning left as I cross the street. Might as well cross here. Just walking alongside a parking lot over on this side. Gordon Road. Apparently it's a very long light going the other way. Car's just about 3 or 4 blocks that way, so that's where I gotta get. I'll just walk down Gordon on the other side and cross over onto the access road on the other side, which will be a little different than the way I came. There we go. So again, these are all apartments or condos, I don't know which, on this side that we'll be walking by. I have been in one years ago, and Alice was a baby and was babysat by somebody who lived here one night. She was very little. She was literally a baby, I think, at that time. Somebody that Margaret Ann worked with. That's a bank over there, and then the Southland Mall, Safeway at this end, grocery store, a bunch of stores in there. Chapters, Indigo, our big chain bookstore, is the other side of the mall over there. A place I would be happy to go back and sign books as soon as it's allowed. I haven't had a book signing in there in ages. I usually sell a few doing that. That's a big liquor store. Has a huge walk-in beer fridge. You can go in and grab your cold beer, but we almost never shop in there. There used to be far fewer choices in liquor stores than there are now. And as I said, they're building one in our neighborhood, so it's likely to become our favorite just because it's within walking distance or a very short drive. Must be condos because it says for sale, so you're looking. That one's for sale. Very handy to shopping. Apartments there. Another bank there. There's a bicycle on the sidewalk where it doesn't belong. Wearing a mask, which makes absolutely no sense when you're by yourself on a bicycle. Probably a wind noise here. It's a little bit breezy. The mic does have just a foam cap on it. I tried using the sort of fuzzy ball that they sent, but I didn't notice it made it any better wind noise-wise. And it's much harder. I had to actually tape it on because it doesn't really fit very well, so I don't think I'll bother with that. It didn't seem to make enough difference to be worth it. Hopefully this light stays green for us. So, leaving the pretty residential area behind, I mentioned the Boston Pizza here, where I've been quite a few times for events and sometimes just to eat. Always a good place to take kids, Boston Pizzas. So I went there with Alice a few times when we needed to eat somewhere on our own. 7 days without pizza makes 1 week. Ha ha ha. Little pizza humor. That's a steakhouse that I've never been in, called Chop. Still feels like it's brand new to me, but it actually must have been there for years now. So, what? I don't remember what day it was, but I was walking on the other side of the street, starting over at Roberts Plaza, and I walked down just a couple of blocks the other side of this intersection and looked this way at these lights. So again, everything connects. I could edit them all together into one vast walking in Regina video and connect all the bits where I've ended up at the same place. I'm going to catch the light here. Careful crossing Albert Street. So down there is Chapters Indigo, the big bookstore. Past those trees. Can't really see it. And then if you go on out that way, you're at the edge of town here again. So if you go straight out along this road, you go south for a while, and then you curve, and then you're in Weyburn in about an hour, my old hometown. One of these days, I'll drive down there and walk around Weyburn. One of these days. I guess I can't call it walking in Regina that day. So my car is just up this service road on the other side. And no apartments on that side, that corner. There's our light. It's a long street to walk across, but they do give you a long walk light, 23 seconds, 22, 21. So we're going to go down that way. So yeah, I walked sort of down, just down that way, not too far, the other day, last week. So it didn't quite connect to where I walked to then, but pretty close. And now we're on South Albert, commercial area. McDonald's, it's been there forever. Back when I was a kid, I ate at that McDonald's. Looked completely different then, but it's the same location. McDonald's is a very rare place for us to eat. We never took Alice there to speak of, and she doesn't like it to this day. So, sorry McDonald's, lost you a customer there. I wouldn't say never, but very rarely have we eaten at McDonald's during her kids' years. She's been to a lot of fancy restaurants, though. I know there's been another note, but I can't see it because of the sun just at the moment. I might be able to in the shade here. Let's see. Yes, many shades of green. They're actually brighter when I watch them on TV. When I watch these videos on our TV, I think the colors are actually brighter from the iPhone's point of view than they are in my eyes. Or, I don't know, maybe the eyes are more subtle and they're a little more garish in the iPhone. A little oversaturated or something. My daughter bought her a graduation dress in there. Or Didn't buy it there, I guess she brought it there to be fitted. Comic readers over here for all your comic book needs. And OK Tire, the sign ahead of us, that's where my car is and hopefully is done by now. Havoc, there is a clothing store, I believe, yes. So, that should do it. Looking for my car out here. All right, well, we'll stop here. So thanks very much for walking with me, and I'll be back tomorrow. Bye for now.